up? This has been Falcon's Media Corner, and welcome back to another movie review, aka After I Saw. And today I'm going to be talking about the 2021 camera prank comedy known as Bad Trip. Now, Bad Trip is directed by Kito Sakurai, and this tells the story of this guy named Chris, played by Eric Andre, who basically one day he gets a visit from one of his childhood crushes he met all those years ago, and he still has a crush on her to this day, and her name is Maria. And basically she really wants to get the opportunity to basically go out with her. And what happens is basically she lives in New York, and he lives in Florida with his best friend Bud, played by Lil Rel Howery. And basically what happens is they need a car to basically travel to New York City from Florida to New York City. So that Chris can get the chance to be with his childhood sweetheart. And meanwhile, they basically steal Bud's sister's car, and his sister's name is Trina, played by Tiffany Haddish, who's being released from prison. And basically, when she finds out that them two have stolen her car to basically travel to New York City, she basically is after them and basically just wants to kill them. And so we basically see the whole misadventures between Chris and Bud throughout the journey, and we see a bunch of pranks that happens as well. So that's pretty much the story of Bad Trip. So for going into Bad Trip, I didn't even know what it was really about. I thought it was just somewhat like one of those generic comedies I've seen before, and I didn't see much of the trailers, but I saw the trailer before I saw this movie today. It was released on Netflix, and I heard that this was originally supposed to be released last year, but then of course with the pandemic hit the world from the coronavirus. I heard it was originally bought by Amazon Studios, but it was accidental, and it was released accidentally last year from what I've heard. But then Netflix bought the rights to this film because this was originally made by Orion Pictures, which are basically MGM. Like I said, Netflix bought the film, and this was released on Friday, 2 days ago. And so I watched it this morning. And before all of this, and before I heard the way it was made, I heard this was a hidden camera prank movie, because we had films like that before in the past. Mostly Jackass. With the Jackass movies, as well as most recently from them, like Bad Grandpa. And we've had as well from them, like Borat as well, which is like a hidden comedy film that does have a few pranks, but it's mostly just like, a hilarious comedy of stereotypical, like hilarious comedy of from a character that was created by Sacha Baron Cohen. But yeah, this is just basically like a hidden comedy on a road trip, which is kind of like familiar to me. It is familiar to me mostly like Bad Grandpa, because it's basically sort of like a road trip comedy, but it's like a hidden camera one because it's basically Jackass. But yeah, this is kind of like Eric Andre's like generic comedy that he makes since his own show, the Eric Andre Show, and other stuff that he's appeared in before. And I didn't even know much about him before, but I was familiar with one of the cast members, Tiffany Haddish, which she's very funny. I liked her. I loved her in Girls Trip. She was very funny in Girls Trip, and she is very funny in other movies that she does well in. Although one of her films from last year, which was Like a Boss, which I'll do a review of that on my channel, as well as her other comedies that I mentioned that she was in, mostly Girls Trip. And so again, I watched this morning on Netflix, and this was actually not that bad. I really enjoyed this one. This was a really funny hidden camera comedy. I don't think it's better than Jackass, to be honest, but I need to check out the Jackass movies at some point. I've only seen one thing from Jackass, which was just Bad Grandpa, which I'll do a review of that on my channel. But for here, though, this was still a really funny experience for me. It was both very raunchy, it was insane, and it was absolutely crazy, because there's so many pranks in this movie that's just absolutely gut-bustingly hilarious. There are some gross out ones, and as well as some shocking ones as well. It involves some raunchiness as well, which had me laughing. Which it's mainly for the general public to basically see that, which it's basically to see the general public's reaction to most of those pranks that are being pulled off in this movie, which that of course makes it more funnier. And some of the pranks involve a vacuum cleaner, like the vacuum pipe in the movie, a police car door, a bar as well, and like a zoo as well. Which some of those pranks in this movie, they were just so crazily funny. But for mainly a storytelling, which is basically a road trip film about these two friends who are basically on this road trip to basically go to New York. It kind of tests off like it kind of like switches off like the main like comedy pranks for this kind of movie, because it's kind of focuses a bit like on their friendship together in the movie, where we see Chris wants to get the opportunity to basically be with his childhood sweetheart, as well as for like Bud. He he kind of has like a tough life because his sister is a criminal, and she's been like recently released from prison after what she did. And basically, when she finds out her car's been stolen from these two guys, she's basically out there to basically catch them and to murder them. Um, but for that aspect of the story, it almost felt less interesting for me, because I thought it was just merely be a straight up like prank movie of sorts, because again, it's a hidden camera film with full of like crazy pranks. But it's also, it has a little bit of essence to Eric Andre Lil Rel Howery's friendship in the movie, which it almost had me a bit switched off. But I didn't mind it for the most part. It was just mainly I was just mainly there to watch some of the craziest pranks that were in the movie that had me laughing. And for their performances in the movie, Eric Andre, he's full of energy here, and he's absolutely hilarious in this movie, like he does for his own TV show, as well as some like comedic stuff he's done before in the past. He's very funny. And you got Lil Rel Howery as Bud. He was also really funny in the movie, and them two together for what they do in the movie, it's absolutely funny together what they do in the movie. And Tiffany Haddish, who plays Trina, who's basically going after these two guys to kill them. She was also very funny in the movie, playing so like a punk. She plays sort of like a punk criminal sort, because she's a criminal in the way she looks. She looks like a punk, of course, and she pulls it off really well, because most of the characters that you should see that she plays in her comedy, she just plays herself really. But he actually plays sort of like a different character, really, which I think she did a really good job. And for the acting in the movie, they all did a pretty good job. And the direction as well for most of the pranks in this film, they were directed really well for the stunts and craziness that happened in the entire film, like the bar scene, the cars, a lot of craziness throughout the entire film. It was directed pretty well for the stunts to make sure they were going well, because if it went wrong, I don't know what will be like if I did see anything like that. But nonetheless, Bad Trip. I had a great time. I had a really good time watching it. It's a really funny movie, despite I had a little bit of one small issue, which is merely another storyline, which kind of felt like it stopped being like what it was originally being. But nonetheless, I still had a really good time watching those hilarious pranks in the movie. That was so crazy and really gross out as well. So if you're a fan of like these kind of prank movies since Jackass, this is definitely worth the one to see. So overall, I'm gonna give Bad Trip a B-. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching for my review of Bad Trip. If you did see the movie already, I would like to hear your thoughts of this movie. Did you have a great time? Did you have a really good time with this, or did you not really like this one? If you didn't, that's alright by myself, because if you're a fan of Jackass and you like to see anything that's kind of like Jackass, again, this is worth the one to see. It's on Netflix, and if you've got Netflix, you can check it out for yourself. So yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for my next AK After I Saw review. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but stay tuned whenever I'm reviewing. And this has been Foggins Media Corner signing off.